Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everyone? I find that I still say everything a couple of times. Like, you were born in the 80s or earlier when you leave a voicemail and you repeat the number twice. As if the person that I'm calling does not have caller ID, as if the person I'm calling actually will listen to their voicemail, or as if the person I'm calling doesn't have it transcribed or can write it quickly, right? So it's I noticed it yesterday because I still when I leave a voicemail I'm like, oh Anthony, here's the number, and if you didn't get it, here's the number, and it's silly but it's funny. Hey Michelle. All right, so really big day, really big week. In fact, as I was writing the team message, the message to our team in Slack, hey Mark, I usually have like 3 or 4 bullet points, and everyone on the team just knows what to do. Today I had 11 bullet points. What's up, Brian? Um, so a couple of things. One, RVP, Regional Vice President, orientation is today. 2 o'clock, live Zoom. I believe the meeting will be, hey, Robbie, yeah, good morning, and Barbara. I believe the meeting will be 1 hour, although there is a possibility that it goes a little longer, right? Because the good news being we have 44 RVP members in 35 different countries. And I believe there's only one overlap. I believe we have 2 people from New Jersey. Oh, and also we have 2 people from California. But those are pretty big states, right? So I don't think the overlap is so crazy. In fact, California by itself is the 7th largest economy in the entire globe. So I think that's okay. So that will start at 2 o'clock. I had already put out a syllabus in our RVP group, as well as I put out a mock, kind of like opening script that we'll have as a focal point to start. Frida, I really, really hope that you're able to get into. So Frida is like one of our favorite people in the entire world, and she's having a little difficulty getting into the group, just tech stuff. So Frida, please, after this call, email me because I do have a way to get you in the group. I could do it manually from my side. You just have to be at your email to get the 6-digit code to give back to me, and then you're good to go. So if you're not in yet, I was thinking of you, and I'll do it manually. Okay, perfect. Michael, yeah, there will be. So the RVP group has 44 people, 35 different countries, a bunch of different states, and it starts today. So like I said, we put out the syllabus, we have an opening kind of script that we could start with, and the point being, like McDonald's, the reason why they're successful is certainly not because they have any high quality anything, but it's because the consistency in the product. That McDonald's did a really, really good job of finding a burger that people like, finding French fries that people like. In doing so, once someone liked it, they were able to go ahead and use the same exact format at every restaurant across the globe. Meaning, if a particular restaurant was doing better or worse than another restaurant, the belief was that they were able to identify what the good or bad is, right? That as long as you know, well, it's not the burger because the burger's everywhere. It's the same exact thing. You're then able to pinpoint, well, maybe it's the manager. Maybe it's that particular community. Maybe it's the marketing. Maybe. But when you're able to go ahead and say it's not the product, that's a very, very good place to be because then you could go ahead and develop and learn what you didn't know, right? So maybe in one region, they like barbecue sauce, right? In another region, they'd like sweet and sour sauce. But you wouldn't know that if every region was making their own burger. So the point of what I'm trying to say is this: the opening script is something that I believe we could all start with as a starting point, that we all can agree this works for a starting point. And from there, we'll continue developing it. Everyone will be sticking to the same script development. But in doing so, when you have a development from 35 different countries, as a result of being real-time tested to all of those different cultures, then each vice president's able to contribute their experience, their feedback, their advice. And when everyone contributes that high level of experience, of data pretty much, you're able to continue building what that script should look like. And when you go ahead and build it to the point that it does represent everyone's fingerprints and the successful start or successful approach to all of those different cultures, well, now you have something quite special. Now you have something that no matter how big we grow, that is our McDonald's burger. That is what we can offer to people and say, listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate your passion, your tenacity, your work ethic, and that will all be quite valuable. But what we can say to you is they are not going to be it'd be very misplaced if you use any of those resources on approach, on product, because we have that down pat through all the testing. In which case, when we can create that burger that works everywhere, then everyone's skill set and tenacity and work ethic and growth is quite easy, because it's, hey, this is what works. If you want to contribute, do what works. Just do it, right? Like Nike. So that is the immediate goal. And we have that starting point today. Let me see what everyone's writing. Could you resend me the link? Says checked out, did not work. Okay, so I will send it to you. How do I understand how this works from the beginning, Tamika? So that's a much larger question. What I would suggest is RHINOretirement.com. It's kind of like our command center, shares everything. And also, Tamika, I'll email you and just try to provide you some resources. And if you want to get on a call, that's fine as well. These calls we're purposely keeping to 10 minutes on a morning basis just to offer updates, to keep the community kind of always in tune. And we've purposely kept it 10 minutes so that everyone could just kind of jump in and jump out. If I were to explain from beginning, everyone knows this would be like a 7-hour call, which actually brings me to my next point. Oh, cool. I'll send it there. I noticed that you changed. Yeah, I did. So Rue, the reason I did that was from the beginning, there was a certain conflict that I never resolved. And that conflict being, because we're committing to supporting the price raise of 1 cent per day, which allows us to bring in as many accounts as possible so that when the coin is exhausted, it will continue going higher because of all the automated accounts. Like as of now, we have 325 automated accounts. That is not near buying only 9,000 a week, which is really good. That's about like $28 per person. But that is not enough to support a 1 billion supply. What will support a 1 billion supply is like 10,000 accounts, which means RHINO has to go from where we are to the warp speed level, which I'm going to touch on. The point being, when I wrote $100, I meant that the coin would be inherently worth $100, which is the demand divided by the supply, which is on our RHINO Retirement account, RHINOretirement.com website. If you look at the top right, the fair market value. Now, currently it's $4, right? Which is still, 3 times higher than where the coin is. So that's good. We want that to be $100, and we believe it'll be $100 by December 20th. What the conflict was that I had yet to solve was in the email, I said RHINO Bucks is going to be $100 by December 20th, which it can't be, right? Because we're holding it to 1 cent per day. So I moved it to the springtime because I believe that by spring, we would have had the billion coin exhausted and we can just let it go to 100. But by December 20th, it is our belief that the coin will be worth intrinsically $100, but we're not going to allow it to be that. It'll be $2 or $3, whatever, which allows the entire community to say, wow, there's a coin over there that's actually worth 100, but it's only trading at 2. And the only thing stopping it is the supply that they're actually exhausting as we speak. So if we get in and go ahead and purchase it here, we'll continue exhausting the supply. And once it's gone, this $2, $3 investment is going to go to 100 overnight. That's that last leg where once everyone sees what we're doing, they then have the opportunity to say, wait a second, I could buy that for $3, and judging by the calculations, the supply is going to be exhausted in 2 weeks. And at that point, the coin intrinsically worth is $100, meaning I could buy a 3 and wait 2 weeks and it goes to 100. Yeah, duh. All the money I have, my savings account, my checking account, all those investments, let's bring them here, which then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because as that behavior intensifies and is shared and created aware by everyone, it just happens. So there is segments to this, but to your point, Drew, I do apologize, because that was my mistake in in not correcting that sooner. So my apologies and thank you for noticing that. Which, by the way, I changed that yesterday. So I love how on top of things our community is. All right. What I did want to touch on was the marketing. So we do have a member of RHINO, and it's funny because I know our email list. I see people from Tesla on it. I see people from everywhere, right? But I don't ever actually reach out to them because that's not, I don't want to invade anyone's privacy like that, right? Like, hey, you're an executive of Tesla. I see that. So why don't you talk to me? No, if that person wants to talk to me, they will. But right now they are opening every email. To that point, there are many that fit that criteria, but maybe not as cool as Tesla, right? There is a RHINO on our email list that did start participating. Is actually a $500 a week member. And this RHINO reached out to us, and unbeknownst to us was how high of a level of a marketing agency he actually owns. And his participation this whole way through was to kind of just get a feel of it, to see what's going on, to keep involved with the emails. Because from his perspective, there are certain metrics that a trained marketer knows that others do not. And unfortunately, I have not been a good conduit or a messenger of those things for normal people to understand. But from his perspective, Anthony, you have done everything wrong from a marketing perspective. You have you cannot describe RHINO in less than a minute clearly for anyone to understand. You do not have a landing page that has any funnels at all. You do not have that many advanced automations to know if this person did this, this person did this, this person did this. And despite, you don't even, people purchase coin and you don't even have the automations to deliver to them the day of. Yes, I know that's coming, which is why I'm talking to you, but you've actually have so many holes in RHINO. And despite those holes, RHINO's organic growth is insane. He goes, I've looked at your Stripe. You have not one dispute. Not a single person that ever did a transaction ever disputed it. Never. He goes, you grow membership every single day. Despite all of that, your coin actually goes up every single day and you have the way to support it. And all of the math makes sense going forward. The difficulty is, or at least the opportunity from my point of view, and again, I'm paraphrasing this gentleman, that if you actually knew and you had these things in place, you would be 1 million members tomorrow. Like, you would be. And when I'm listening to him, I don't take any of it offensively. In fact, everything he's saying, I know this to be true. RHINO was never built on marketing. It was built on community. But it would be a great disservice to community to not go ahead and have a marketing approach that makes the entire community aware. That was always the next step in what we were doing. And in fact, as I was telling my team today, what a successful startup looks like is that through pure perseverance and idea and fortitude and work ethic, you continue moving forward. You do all the work, you never sleep, and you continue and you continue. Because at some point, there are people out there that are open to opportunity and say, wait a second, this thing called RHINO over there could be bigger than anything in the world, but they need a structure. And I have the resources and connections to do it. In fact, this gentleman worked as a partner with Ty Lopez. Like, he's that big of a person. So the point being that we're speaking today after RVP, in which case he had already taken on himself that he sent me proposals and more. Like, I have in my email a 10-page handwritten, well, not handwritten, but personally written. No, it's not Ricky. Ricky I worked with for a very long time. His views do not align with RHINO's views. His marketing is good, but his marketing is still inferior to the person I'm talking about. But the reason Rick and I moved apart was that our vision of how to grow community is very different. His is more guerrilla. Mine is more teddy bear, I guess, if that makes sense. But anyway, so we're speaking today. Okay, not always happy with them. The big idea is that you are not segmenting the audience as a marketer, and these people are not always happy with that part. Yeah, so that's actually true. A lot of times people tell me, Anthony, you need to start segmenting your list, right? Because the people that are members um, want their email to say something differently than people that aren't members. And I agree with that. I do. But from my perspective, and again, because what RHINO is built on is just sincereness is the word I was looking for. That people in RHINO will look at me and say, Anthony could be doing this better, but I know the reason he's not better at it is because he's operating from his heart. And what I mean by that is when I send the emails, I send the same thing to everyone. And although it may bother one person over the other, I feel quite good knowing that our entire community all knows the same exact thing, that there isn't an elite class of RHINO that get different information than somebody that's not even part of RHINO but is on our email list. Now, granted, that might not be the correct thing to do, but I can rest easy knowing that if I'm making a mistake because I want everyone to be equal, I can live with that. And I think everyone appreciates that. Yeah, we're with Anthony, we're with RHINO, and it's getting better. There are some things that need to change, but I believe that they will, and they will when we have the ability to change them, right? So to the point I was trying to make, so this gentleman was able to take a look at all of our organic growth because he has all those like crazy, like, I don't know, like he could see website views and all that stuff. And plus he gets our email. And I really and the point I was trying to make before was he sent me 10 pages, all not handwritten, but it wasn't like automated proposal. It was actually completely personalized to us, which means the person's invested. And plus they're 500 a week, right? Like they're invested. And obviously anyone that's invested would like to see the coin move up. And if somebody knows to themselves, well, I see that they're this, but they could be this, I could bring them from here to here. Well, now it behooves that person to invest a lot of money and then go ahead and make it happen themselves. So that calls today at 2 o'clock. Not 2 o'clock, after our RVP group. The last thing I want to say about RVP is there is still one more thing I need to do going into it because the group is going to be held highly accountable. And again, everyone in the group gets paid in coin Friday to their wallet. So conceivably, you could take your pay and cash it out that second, right? So I know the two things. One, it isn't like a fairy tale group. People are going to be held accountable because there is real pay. And at the same time, people are receiving the pay in a currency that is completely dependent on their work ability, right? So if you think you're getting into RVP and you get to just sit around and do nothing and collect coin, well, A, that won't last very long. But B, you're actually going to be hurting the coin because we're paying you in coin that you're selling, so you're bringing down the value while also providing no value to it. So the point is, what I'm making today is a Google Doc with everyone in the group's email. So everyone will be invited to it. And there'll be your name, the marketing that you have chosen, and just like metrics, right? To keep you on track. Because we're not going to have a meeting every day. That's crazy. We're all adults, right? Like we have lives. But you should go ahead and keep up with it and make sure that you keep it accurate so that when Friday comes around, again, and this is important for everyone to really, really absorb. I do not believe there's anything such as a bad employee or a bad student. I don't believe that. I believe there's only bad teachers and bad leaders. So if your Friday performance is poor, I will never, ever look at it as, oh, Brian, oh, Eve, oh, Caro, you did a poor job this week. I will always look at it as, oh my God, I have someone that is so amazing, so bright, so passionate, and I'm failing them. Like, look at their performance. That's my fault. How do I better serve them? How do I better support them? Let me speak to them and see what I can be doing more for them. Because you do not represent just you. You represent a position in RHINO. And that position, the goal of it is to build a structure, to build a process that can be duplicated. So if Eve is doing poorly, well, I'm taking that personally because I'm putting Eve in a poor position to be successful. So we go ahead and solve that and create a process that is successful. Now that process can be duplicated everywhere. Okay, we did have this challenge and then we found this solution. So if anyone else has this challenge, this is the solution. And even if you never had that challenge, you might run into it. So please start applying this. At some point within 6 or 7 months from now, we're going to have a perfect process in place that's going to be built on all the trial and error, all the learning, what we didn't know, all the scripts that got evolved, all the advice, all the everything that got put together. And at that point, we have a coin that's through the moon and back. You know why? Because we can write an email to anyone and say, if you want to be successful, please do this. It's already been proven. So all those emails that you get from marketers like, hey, you want to do this, look at our proven strategy. It's all garbage, right? Like we know that. Because if it was real, they would be what they're saying they are. And really, they're just scamming people. But this group has the ability to actually create that where we could send it to everyone, where our website can say, hey, welcome to RHINO. This is the message. This is who we are. If you want to get involved, join here. You'll get paid here. And it's been going up this much ever since day one. If you go ahead and have a proposal put to you, this is how you can join easily. This is who we are. This is the instructions on how you can be a participant, and that you actually get paid in the currency of the coin that you're participating in. Therefore, do it, right? So then you go ahead and do it, and you see that the coin's been going up forever. You see a tally, a million, 1,000,001, 1,000,002 people in, and you say, oh my God, we just created universal income. We just created universal social security, because that person on their own can go ahead and say, yeah, duh, like this is like passive income. Like they're already giving me what to do when they've proven it. I'm getting paid in a coin that goes up every single day. Why wouldn't I, right? So I know I'm way over, and I have more work today than I've ever had to do, because there are also other things too. No one has guessed the person. No one. So anyway, let me run.